So far, so good. So good. Then the end, whenever he hands over the kingdom to God the Father, and he suppresses all, all dominion and all authorities and the cosmic system, his power. So these are the enemies of Christ, and he cannot reign until he suppresses all his enemies. Which is, this is Operation Footstool, and we're going to go over this doctrine right now. Operation Footstool, verse 25. Yes, verse 25. Let's go over this one right now. Yeah, let's go over Operation Footstool at this moment. Yep, I don't think we're going to finish today. Point 1. Operation Footstool is derived from Psalm 110:1, where God the Father tells the Son to sit until his enemies are made his footstool. So footstool is a Semitic idiom for conquest, total conquest over his enemies. There's a Psalm 110:1. Let's look at that one right now. Psalm 110:1. And so this was written about 1,000 years, 1,000 years before the Lord Jesus Christ came. And this is David talking. The Lord, this is God the Father, says to my Lord. And nope, it should not be in lowercase letters. This is the NIV. The Lord, the God the Father, said to the Lord Jesus Christ, my Lord. This is the Trinity, God the Father. But here it is talking to, it's a prophecy, and it's talking about the Lord Jesus Christ in hypostatic union. Sit at my right hand. He is telling the humanity of Christ, for deity does not sit. So this is the humanity. Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool of your feet. And so this was fulfilled at, this saying rather, was fulfilled at the session of Christ. When he sat right next to God the Father, at the right hand of God the Father, this is when he was told that, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool of your feet. When is this fulfilled? Second Advent, partly in the Second Advent. This was written, however, 1,000 years before, about 1,000 years before the Incarnation. So now we can carry on. So, yes. Point 2. His enemies are Satan and the fallen angels, and are currently operating on the earth. So his enemies, yes, they're all the fallen angels, and they're also human unbelievers. So Satan and the fallen angels and human unbelievers. You might ask, what about those believers who are said to be enemies of Christ? Those that are in the cosmic system. Yes, they are enemies, but not enemies in this sense, because those believers who are enemies of Christ have the imputed plus R. They belong to God forever. Their thinking is an enemy of God, but they are not enemies of God to the extent that they are going to be thrown into the lake of fire. Point 3, the phase of Operation Footstool is the first phase, is the resurrection of the church, and then begins the preparation of the bride of Christ for 7 years. So this is when he said, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool. Then the first phase begins. So church age is only a staging area, a staging point, preparing the church. Finally, the rapture, and this is when the judgment seat of Christ is going to occur. Let's say that this is the throne, and all believers in the resurrection body, they're going to appear before the Lord Jesus Christ, and everything that they did is going to be evaluated, and it's going to be all the believers' production is going to be either wood, hay, and stubble, or gold, silver, and precious stones. This is all the divine good production. This is all the human good. And this is where human good is going to be judged. Remember that at the cross, the Lord Jesus Christ did not take the human good. He only took all the sins of the world, but he rejected human good and evil. So you might ask, when is human good going to be judged? And it's going to be judged at the judgment seat of Christ, and for the unbelievers at the great white throne judgment after the millennium. So he has to judge everything that does not belong to God. And so this is where he's going to judge human good at the judgment seat of Christ and at the great white throne judgment. Here's what the church, the bride, becomes prepared. What does this preparation consist of? Well, at the rapture, they received a resurrection body. What else? That resurrection body does not have a sin nature anymore. Where is it? Here. During the judgment seat of Christ, the bride is prepared with 1, the resurrection body. She received that at the rapture. 2, the removal of the sin nature. Well, she received that at the rapture because the resurrection body does not have a sin nature anymore. It stayed back in the corruptible body. And because that corruptible body is dead already, then that sin nature is not operative anymore. And then 3, the judgment of human good. He has to judge human good, yes, on the one hand. But on the other hand, he's also going to convey the rewards for all those who executed the plan of God. So gold, silver, and precious stones. Those who did execute the plan of God, they're going to receive all their decorations, all the crowns, the crown of glory, the crown of righteousness, all the decorations, the order of the morning star, etc. And so she's going to be decorated. And that is the preparation of the bride, with the result that when the judgment seat of, when the second advent comes, when the Lord Jesus Christ comes back with his bride, she's going to be ready. The bride always tries to make herself as beautiful as ever. In her wedding day, she does not want to look bad for her husband. She does not want to have a terrible dress, etc. This is the same case with the judgment seat of Christ. The bride is preparing herself for her right man for the marriage day. So, yeah. That is the first phase. That is the rapture with the preparation of the bride. Point 4. The second phase is the second advent, when the bride of Christ comes down with him. Boom. This is the second phase. And we're going to replace all his enemies. Those who are rulers and those who are authorities, demons, we're going to replace them. And all those who did execute the plan of God, they're going to replace them as rulers in the millennium. All his enemies, all the demon boys, are going to be thrown into that compartment in there. So either it could be the abyss, or it could be not Tartarus. It's going to be the abyss. All the human unbelievers are going to be thrown into that special compartment called torments. And they're going to be waiting for the lake of fire after the great white throne judgment. Like I said, those who get the special privilege of being thrown into the lake of fire first before anyone else are the 2 antichrists. And Satan himself is going to also be locked up in the abyss too, but he himself is going to be released at the end of the millennium. So you can see that all his enemies are not suppressed yet. Yes, they're going to be all suppressed here, but they're still not completely finished until the end of the millennium. This is all Operation Footstool, when his enemies are put as a footstool for his feet. Point 5, the Lord Jesus Christ removes Satan and the fallen angels and all human unbelievers waiting for the lake of fire, Revelation 21 and 3. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verses 4 to 11, Revelation chapter 19 verse 20, Zechariah chapter 13 verse 12, Colossians 2:15, the verse that we just went over. And then he will hand over the kingdom to God the Father, who will in turn hand the kingdom back to Christ in order so that he can reign for the 1,000 years. So finally, when all the enemies are put as a footstool, when he gets married to the bride, he's going to hand the kingdom to God the Father, and then God the Father is going to hand the kingdom back to him so that the Lord Jesus Christ can reign in the millennium. And point 6, I call this the last phase, is the end of the millennium after Satan makes his last attempt by causing the Gog, not God, I'm going to correct this right now, Gog and Magog revolution, that's what it's known as. He will be thrown into the lake of fire, and all unbelievers of the millennium will be judged. And so there are still enemy unbelievers at the millennium. Satan himself, another enemy, is going to be released at the millennium. And so all his enemies are not put as a footstool for his feet until the end of the millennium. Here, this is where it happens mostly, but here at the end, there's still a few left, including Satan. So that's why I call this the last phase. Then finally, afterwards, everyone's going to be thrown into the lake of fire. Lake of fire. No more Hades, no more torments. Satan himself, Satan and all the demons thrown into the lake of fire. They're going to be burning forever and ever and ever. Okay.